Give it a shot then. All right. Hello, everyone. This is Eric with Chris of potstocks.com. Today is Saturday, May 2nd, and this is your weekend broadcast update on stock news, charts, and trends. As a disclaimer, nothing in this broadcast is intended to be an endorsement for trading. Should you be interested in buying or selling stocks, you should seek a licensed financial advisor before doing so. Let's get started with our first news story. General Cannabis, CANN, has announced it is relisting itself into the OTC market this week. General Cannabis Company provides regulated cannabis services to the industry throughout the United States. Specifically, they lease commercial real estate and equipment to licensed businesses in the sector for production needs. This has a lot of backstory on it. So, Chris, can you dive in a little bit to start on what happened last year with CANN and how we got back to where we are now?
Yeah, so General Cannabis was halted back on March 27th of 2014, and it's been on the gray market ever since. So basically what happened was just a random investor, bought and sold over 10% of like all the stock for CANN without alerting anybody at the company. And that sent up some red flags at the SEC, and that triggered an investigation and a halt, and it's been like a year since they've been on the OTC. So, but the CANN ended up suing the investor, and he just recently reached a settlement to return like over 1 million shares to the company. So now the stock gets relisted. I think it's currently trading at like $3.80 a share, and yeah, so I mean it's good news for that company. But I also think what will be interesting is there's a company that's kind of tied in with them. It's a Full Circle Capital, FULL. And in January 2014, just before the halt, Full closed an agreement with CANN to fund $30 million in convertible notes. So basically, when the halt happened, both the stocks just totally tanked, and they have not recovered at all. So it could be a good buying opportunity for both as this happens. I know I've made some money on bottom bounces in the sector, and there's definitely people that do that as their kind of bread and butter. So it'll be interesting looking at a CANN and Full going forward.
I agree with you. I think a big part of it, too, is going to be to get some of the news out, because anytime something like this happens, people get a little bit hesitant whether it's legitimate or not. So I think it's important for people to do a little bit of research on this and then and kind of take a look at what's going to be happening, obviously, because there's a black area in any market trends with this company because there was nothing going on. So I think it'll be important for it to just kind of wade through the first couple months and see what happens. So
yeah, that'll be interesting. I mean, the sector is interesting though because for a lot of these companies there's a ton of marijuana investors, so they're looking at stuff like this. So
yeah.
it could be a quick buy up, but probably at least a couple weeks before anything really happens.
Yeah, and also just the fact that it was on there and is coming back. Some people may just in the most human sense identify the ticker symbol and snag a couple for it. So we'll have to pay attention to that as time moves on. And moving on in our stories, then we have CLS Holdings, CLSH, a diversified cannabis company, has announced earlier this week that they will be publicly traded under the ticker symbol CLSH, effective April 30th, 2015. So that was just a couple days ago. CLS Holdings is a company that processes revenue. They do facility information, sale of products, brand creation, offers consulting services. They're a very comprehensive company. It's very well-rounded in the cannabis industry, and I know that there are a few others that do that. But give us your take on what this means for the trading world.
Yeah, so from a trading standpoint, it's definitely one to keep an eye on. New tickers in the sector can really take off. There's a lot of swing traders and speculators in the sector, and so you get a new one that gets a lot of attention, and hell, maybe they even get a stock promotion in there, and you'll get a ton of volume really early on. So from an investment standpoint, though, I poked through their documentation, and their main thrust is a proprietary cannabinoid extraction and processing type deal. So basically, they're processing cannabis into oils in some sort of unique or better way for use in like edibles and different cannabis products. So I think investors should definitely keep an eye on that portion of their operations, and see if what, if any, benefit that process has. I think that'll be their main selling point for the long-term investor.
Yeah, it's a very interesting aspect of the business too, because as soon as the science and chemistry, as soon as somebody really takes a hold of that, if somebody happens to find a drastically more efficient or better way to extract the stuff to get more per volume, to make it faster, however they happen to do that, that'll be one that will take off. So anything in that area is important to keep an eye on, just in case somebody happens to make a breakthrough. Yeah. I think it's an important thing to consider. So, okay, moving forward, Medical Cannabis Payment Solutions, REFG, has secured a $400,000 strategic investment this week. CEO Jeremy Roberts is happy with 2014's progress on developing a payment system with basically like a point-of-sale system to cannabis companies, and in 2015, their aim with this strategic investment is to deploy it to as many people as conceivably possible. So, give us a little bit of information there.
Yeah. So I mean, I can't really comment too much on the investment or the operation. I mean, getting money's good.
Yeah.
But from the trading standpoint, they're currently at 7 cents, just over 7 cents, and they're just above their average trading volume for the week. And it looks like the chart did hit an uptrend about April 15th. So probably not a bad play, around maybe 6.5 cents.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's a short one, so nothing much more there. We're going to move on to just some NASDAQ changes now that we've got moving on. GW Pharmaceuticals, GWPH, after the Epidiolex trials and Sativex trials, are reporting a 65% market increase so far in 2015. For those that are unaware, Epidiolex is a cannabidiol treatment showing about 50% reductions in seizures in clinical trials, and their shares rose 10% on that news alone. So that's a big one. We also have INSY Therapeutics trading on the NASDAQ, and it's making some headlines for trading volatility. The company reported 120% revenue growth since 2014. Their stock has risen over 30% in 2015, backing off GW Pharmaceuticals there, so they're both doing quite well so far. They're kind of getting battled for. And Arena, also NASDAQ company, ARNA, has received a patent for its compound APD 371, which is an agonist for the cannabinoid receptor 2. Basically, that's going to treat chronic pain. It's going to give you it's got medical benefits. Their stock appears to have risen over 28% this year. So NASDAQ as a whole, and just what we're looking at there, Chris, what do you have to say?
Yeah, so GWPH and INSY, and maybe Arena also, I'm actually not too familiar with them. But I get worried about that because a lot of traders tend to treat GWPH and INSY as like an index for the whole sector. So I would caution against that. I think their activity indicates some like broader market interest in cannabis investments, but the stocks are just as much like biotech and pharmaceutical as they are cannabis. And really, since they're operating on the NASDAQ as opposed to the OTC, it's a totally different ballgame. So I would just urge traders to avoid rushing into some cheaper cannabis stocks when they see like GWPH or INSY or ARNA doing really well. You need to evaluate each stock on its own merit, both technical and fundamental.
Give us your charts for this week. What are you looking at? What do you expect for us there?
Yeah, so my chart for next week is OSLH. That was one we recently featured on like our Twitter and all that for a few weeks now, because Cheryl Schumann recently entered into like a joint agreement with them, and that caused a lot of buzz. So from a trading standpoint, their chart looks really good, and their shares are cheap. They're still under a cent right now. And what I like is that the market cap is just 5.6 million. So it's really attractive compared to some of the peer stocks out there. They're operating with caps in like the hundreds of millions or billions. So yeah, that's a good one. I might actually get into that one Monday.
Excellent. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back with some general legalization news and just some news topics that are going on around the country. So we will be right back.
This news is brought to you by our sponsor, Elevated Products, LLC, and their latest innovative product, the Groove Tube. The Groove Tube is a unique and highly effective answer to unwanted odor associated with cannabis smoking. Complete with replaceable cartridges and 12 different scents, the Groove Tube offers a fully customizable experience. You can even get your own customized wrap with your business logo or artwork. If you're a retailer looking for a great product, contact the team at groovetube.com. That's www.groov-tube.com.
Thank you for waiting. Thanks for watching our commercial. This is Eric and Chris again with potstocks.com. We're going to be giving you some general news right now. So first up, we have Washington State has passed a law that will combine medical and recreational marijuana into one cohesive force in the state. While lawmakers are happy that any regulation has been put into place, proponents for medical marijuana see this as a bit of a setback. Some of the points on the regulations are as follows. The amount allowed to any one patient is being reduced from 15 ounces to 1 ounce. There is now a 30% excise tax on all sales, recreational or medicinal. And simply having a doctor's recommendation does not provide protection from arrest unless the qualifying patient or designated provider is also entered in the medical agreement. So, Chris, there's a lot going on there. primarily, I think the big thing is that they are making progress. I think is an important thing to keep in mind. At the same time, they've got sort of these restrictive, like the 30% excise tax is a bit high, I think. And the police are obviously on a little bit of a razor's edge between legality and illegality. So, what are your thoughts there?
So two things. The 30% excise tax does sound steep, but you also have to remember that the price of marijuana in Washington has dropped about 40% since the start of the year, which is huge. So I don't think that patients and customers are going to see big, like huge hits to their pocketbook for that one. In fact, if anything, I don't even know if they're going to notice it. Secondly, in the bill, the 15 ounces to 1 ounce for medical marijuana patients kind of indicates to me that the lawmakers aren't trusting that the medical marijuana program is being used just by legitimate patients. And so the key to that is the voluntary state registry, which triples the amount they can have to 3 ounces, and exempts you from the sales tax. So if you are a legitimate medical marijuana patient, then you need to be all about that state registry. And I mean, you'll get taken care of, and it's going to be a pretty affordable deal. And also, anytime they simplify tax code, I'm a fan.
I think this very much falls into the do it right and you won't have any problems realm. As long as everybody's doing everything the way that the law is stated that they need to, it should be fine. I don't think there's going to be any.
Yeah, the big thing is that it's just such a murky landscape that the 3-tiered tax system, it was just really difficult for retailers and growers to deal with.
Yeah.
So I mean, this makes it all much more simple for the consumer, for the providers, and I think it'll overall be good. I know there's going to be some people that are put out by it, especially in probably the medical dispensary realm. But
yeah, well, and having said that, though, I mean, it is a step forward because they are making progress. So it's important to keep that in mind at the same time that they are going forward with this. They are trudging their feet, albeit through the mud. They are trudging. So I think we're in agreement there. Okay, moving forward, this is just a touch-on note. New York State medical marijuana application window has opened this week. Businesses will now be allowed to send in applications to be granted licensure for the sale of medical marijuana. It's a $10,000 non-refundable application fee. According to existing timetables, cultivators will have until January of 2016 to have sellable product. They're only handing out a few of these, just a handful. But it is important to note that step has been made in New York State. So it's good to see that they are progressing as well. Our final news for the day, Alabama is getting a second go-around at medical marijuana. Lawmakers are resistant to change, generally speaking, in Alabama as far as this is concerned. A lot of them have come out publicly against it, some citing marijuana as a gateway drug, others just saying that it's a bad bill. 2005 poll showed that 75% of the Alabama populace is for medical marijuana use. The bill is SB 326, submitted by Democrat Senator Bobby Singleton, and that outlines 25 medical conditions that would qualify for medical marijuana, as long as any condition that, quote, substantially limits the ability of the person to conduct one or more major life activities, as defined in the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990. And the big thing here is that this is the second time around, so even though it's not promising that it will pass, they are at least giving it another go. So, Chris, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, this is just another one of those things where the people are kind of waiting on the old cranky legislators to work the will of the people. Like, what is this? The Rules Committee Chairman Senator Jabba Wagner declared the bill dead on arrival, refusing to even let it be debated.
Yep.
Like that's the kind of stuff that I mean, you're going to see it more in the southern states.
It's curmudgeon-y.
And it's just going to take them longer to, they're missing out on revenue, and their crime's going to be higher, and their education budget will be lower, and that's how that's going to go.
Well, yeah, for those that are unaware, I live in the state of Michigan, and one of the big things that Michigan lawmakers citing, we have 3 bills coming in next for legalization for next year for recreational legalization. One of the biggest reasons they are doing that in this state and looking at these things and really, really sifting through them is that they are scared of everybody else stealing the income. They want the tax money. And it's something that Alabama is seriously going to miss out on. as more and more states creeping closer to the Mason-Dixon begin to roll out recreational legalization. And at some point, they'll almost have to from a fiscal standpoint. But at current, if they're going to cite those issues, particularly the one I take umbrage with is the gateway drug argument. But that's another for another time.
That's just a call for people to get out there and vote. If 75% of the population actually supports it, then they can vote those people out. So they should. But in related news, speaking of southern states, Oklahoma just passed a CBD bill.
Excellent.
Yeah, so they're progress, slow but
steady. It is every single state that creeps along that line. I think you have the CBD legalization into the full medical legalization into recreational. I think any state that is on that little path is really, really helping the cause. As more fall in line, more and more will continue to do so. Not necessarily in a peer pressure sort of sense, but the fiscal aspect of it is undeniable at this point, and I think the people of the United States are speaking very loudly to wanting it. So,
yeah, I love it.
So, excellent. Well, that is going to round out our news for the day. Thank you guys for watching. Head to our website, www.pot-stocks.com. Check out the web forums. You can check out all of our other videos that are on there and all of the other information that we've got available to you. Please generate some forum threads, discuss the news you've heard today. I'm Eric. That is Chris. Everybody stay in the green, and we will talk to you soon. Take care.